Ahoy and welcome aboard once again. Tamara A Lowery, author of the Waves of Darkness series, and today's reading is from Black Venom, book 4 in the series. The title of the section I'll be reading is Welcoming Committee, and this is also the very first red shirting that I did in any of my books. For those of you unfamiliar with the terms, if you remember the old original Star Trek from the 60s, anytime a new person went with the away team down to the planet and they had on a red shirt, they weren't coming back. And in this, I red-shirted a couple of my coworkers who annoyed me particularly. About an hour into their trek, the siren got very skittish. "Be on your guard," she warned. "She's about to launch an attack." The entire company went on the alert. Look about as they might, though, they could see no immediate threat. It wasn't until one of the men at the rear of their group collapsed that they realized the true nature of the menace. "Barnett, what is it?" Grim called to the man as he turned to check on him. A crawling horror played out before the pirates as they all turned to look. Barnett lay writhing on the ground, or so they thought. Then they realized he was already dead. A horde of venomous creatures crawled on and in his body, making it appear to writhe. Knowing what to look for now, it didn't take them long to realize that they were completely surrounded. Every kind of spider, scorpion, and snake imaginable closed in on them. The men quickly huddled together. Belle got so close to Victor's back that only their clothes separated them. No one noticed that the creatures seemed to shy away from Grim as he moved to stay with the group. There was a tacit agreement that no one would make an effort to retrieve Barnett's body. Everyone was more concerned with not ending up in the same state. Victor felt grateful that Belle stayed at his back rather than cling to his front or side. Still, the other crew members huddled close enough to make him feel crowded. He found it very irritating, an effect he felt sure that Venoma wanted to achieve. The creatures advanced no further than just outside the edge of their group. The pirates huddled closer, yet their tormentors did not close the circle smaller, as if some invisible line they would not or could not cross had been drawn around the group. "What are they waiting for?" one of the pirates, Higgins, asked. The man kept glancing at the horror that had been Barnett. He was sweating and stank of piss and fear. The vampire narrowed his eyes. He realized the sister was beginning to play mind games. She might still try to kill him, but not before she had had her fun. Something began to tickle his face. He looked up and saw that several spiders had spun webs between the branches overhead. Although the spiders didn't drop down on their heads, they dropped a multitude of silken threads to dangle down. "Gah! They're on me!" Higgins screamed and batted at the webs. He only succeeded in making them stick to him. Victor clamped down with his will in an effort to keep the man calm and prevent the panic from spreading to the others. "It's only webs, man. The spiders can't touch you inside the circle." His words fell on ears deafened by an unreasoning terror. Victor was only able to keep the other men from bolting. "Get them off! Get them off!" Higgins continued to bat at the webs and scrub at his face. He started to back up, as if that would free him. Grim tried to reach for him, but wasn't close enough. "Stay with the crew, Higgins." A few seconds later, Higgins backed into his death. The moment he set foot past the invisible barrier, the creatures swarmed him. He didn't even have time to scream. The creatures just flowed up his legs and covered him. Then they poured into his mouth, nose, and ears. Victor put a mini-ball through the man's forehead to end the brief look of pain and terror in his eyes. "What's that hum?" Belle cringed and held her ears. A loud buzzing had started and was growing louder. It soon reached deafening levels. Before long they didn't have to wonder what caused the sound. The sky above them grew dark, and an enormous swarm of wasps, hornets, and bees converged on them. However, just like the land-bound creatures, the airborne pests were blocked by an invisible boundary. It was like being in a bubble, the edges of which throbbed with crawling death. The air started to get close and hot. The bugs were vibrating and putting off heat. Victor decided he'd had enough. Even he started to sweat in the living oven they were trapped in. He reached into his shirt and pulled out the alder stone. It flashed bright, temporarily blinding everyone. The surrounding creatures emitted a high-pitched squeal, followed by an eerie silence. Everyone's sight soon returned. The bubble had expanded considerably, with the sky once again visible overhead. On the jungle floor lay the carcasses of all the creatures that had been trapped by the explosive expansion of the protective barrier. As one, the remaining flying insects rose in a cloud and headed toward the shore. They would soon reach the Incubus in a matter of minutes. Victor sent one desperate thought to all of his crewmen through the blood link he had with them. "Smudge pots." "What?" Belle, who had heard the thought as well, asked. "The smoke will help keep the bugs away," he said. He smiled grimly as Lazarus sent him an image back from the ship. The crew had gotten the message and, more importantly, understood it. They'd gotten the pots lit and smoking just before the swarm arrived. Some of the men were getting stung, but it was nothing like it would have been without the smoke. Suddenly a new horror faced them. The bodies of Barnett and Higgins stood up. It was a lurching, unnatural movement, and would have been even if they'd still been alive. The very creatures that had killed them held them erect like meaty puppets. It didn't help the image that their bodies were already partially eaten. A whispering, chittering sound came from them. Venoma was using the creatures to try to speak to them. "Turn back now, and I may spare you." "I think not, and I call you a liar, Venoma Noir," Victor replied. "You would kill us all if you could." "Then you will have no crew left to return to, vampire. Yes, I know what you are and what you think you are. I do not believe you are the one, regardless of what the others think. Come to me, if you can. I will set you a task you cannot hope to finish. I will prove to those fools that you are not the one." He held the glowing crystal toward the corpses of his men. The creatures animating them fled before its light, allowing them to collapse in lifeless heaps. He turned to Belladonna and asked, "Which way is she?" "Northwest." "Keep up," he said to the others. "If you fall behind, you've seen what will happen to you." And I do have one more reading coming up next week from Black Venom. The links for where the book can be found are posted here in the video after this reading, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. See you again next week.